Hello everyone, in this session we will discuss question number 11, practical question number 11. Now in previous session we have seen one question related with cash discount and trade discount. Now this question, it is also related with cash and trade discount, but there are some changes in this question. So today we will be discussing only this practical question number 11. Now let us see the question first. See, they have only mentioned past journal entries. That means on heading we have to give only as journal. Okay, now let us see the transaction number 1, that took place on January 6. Now purchase goods from Henry for 50,000 on 10% trade discount and 4% cash discount, and paid 60% amount by check. That means earlier in previous sessions we have seen that there was no mentioning of payment on the same date itself, but in this question what they have introduced is that some of the amount of purchase or sales will be paid on similar date. So how are we going to treat this kind of transaction in our journal? We will see that in this question. Now first, when they say that some amount of the sales or purchases are paid on the same date, then that time we have to first work on our extra note, that is working note. Okay, now let us see working note. Now if we see in the question, first let us see first part. Okay, purchase goods from Henry for 50,000. Now that we will write first in our working note, that is purchases value of rupees 50,000. Then what they have mentioned is that on 10% trade discount, as we know that first we have to give trade discount. So first we will give 10% of trade discount. 10% of 50,000 is 5,000. So we got 45,000. This will be our purchases amount. Okay, but don't focus on these purchases. We will see, you will be clear when we will pass journal entries, but as of now we will just see the working note. Okay, now after providing trade discount, what we will see that there is 4% cash discount also. Earlier in previous session we used to give directly cash discount, isn't it? But in this question we will, for the time being, we will avoid this 4% cash discount part, and let us focus on the last part of the transaction. That is, they say that paid 60% amount by check. That means out of the 45,000 we have paid 60% amount by check. Okay, so after deducting trade discount, what we will do is that we will divide this 45,000 into two parts. Okay, two parts. First part will be cash transaction, second part will be credit transaction, because in question they said that 60% of the amount was all on the spot paid to Henry. Okay, so that means that 60% of the transaction will 60% of the purchases will be cash transaction. So we divided cash transaction and credit transaction, and 60% of 45,000 is 27,000. That means automatically the remaining 40% will become credit transaction, that is 18,000. Okay, so after finding out the value of cash transaction, now what we will do is that we will come into the cash discount part. That means we will give 4% of cash discount on this 60% of 45,000. That means we will calculate 4% of this 27,000. We got 1,080. Now this 1,080 is our cash discount. That means it is our discount received, and actual amount that we paid is 25,920 after deducting discount amount from this 27,000. I hope you have understood this working note part, and if not, then you can rewind the video and watch it again. Okay, because until unless your working note or your working process is not clear, you will not be able to pass journal entry. Okay, so now if you have understood working note, now let us come to the part of journal entry. Okay, sorry, the starting part, it is a little blurry. Now as we know that it is a transaction of purchases, so purchases account will be debited. Don't write the amount at first write which account will be debited and which account will be credited. Okay, now when we look at the question, they said that we paid 60% of the amount through check. That means we will not give cash, but we will give one check and the amount will be deducted from our bank. That means our bank is giving the money. Okay, that 60% of the amount is given by our bank. We have one account in bank and it is deducted from there. Since bank is a personal account, that means we will credit bank account because credit the giver. Then there was cash discount. That means we received some discount as well, so we will credit discount received account. And for that remaining 40% of 45,000, that is the amount which is credit transaction, for that we will write 200 because it is still some part of this transaction is a credit transaction. And if you remember, while entering credit purchases account journal, we used to write purchases account debited to whichever party from whom we used to purchase goods. Okay, now when we come to the amount, okay, first we will write credit amounts because we have 3 accounts on credit side. So first, bank account, we will write the actual payment that we made. That means this 25,920 rupees of amount will be deducted from our bank, so we will write bank column 25,920. Then discount received, as we calculated 44% of 27,000, we got 1,080, so we wrote 1,080 in here. Then 200 means that 40% of 45,000, that means that credit transaction part we will write 18,000 on Henry's side. Okay, so after adding all these 3, we got 45,000, which is nothing but our total purchases amount. Okay, now this is one type of treating this kind of transaction. Earlier in previous session we saw that we used to give first trade discount then directly cash discount, but in this case, since cash and credit transactions both are included in one transaction, so we have to treat those transactions like this. We will first deduct trade discount, then we will divide the remaining amount into 2 parts, into cash and credit. Then we have to give discount, cash discount on cash transaction, and credit transaction will remain as it is. Okay, now let us see next transaction that took place on January 15. Bought goods from Amit. Bought goods means purchase goods, it's same, from Amit for rupees 2 lakh at terms 5% cash discount and 20% trade discount. Now don't get confused that cash discount is given first, so we have to deduct cash discount first. It is not like that. First we will give trade discount and then we will we will see cash discount. Okay, now after discount part, what they said is that 3/4 of the amount was paid in cash at the time of purchase. That means earlier in previous transaction we saw 60% of the amount was paid, but in this case they said that 3/4 of the amount was paid in cash at the time of purchase. So first we will see in the working note. Now purchase from Amit was 2 lakh rupees, then we will deduct trade discount 20%, that is 40,000, so we got total purchases of rupees 1,60,000. Now this 1,60,000 will be divided into 2 parts, cash and credit. First let us see cash transaction. They say that 3/4, that means 3/4 of 1,60,000 will be cash transaction, so 3/4 of 1,60,000 is 1,20,000. Okay, now on this 1,20,000 we will give cash discount of 5%, so 5% of 1,20,000 is 6,000. Now this 6,000 is our discount received, and actual payment that we made in cash is 1,14,000. Okay, So if the 3/4 of 1,60,000 is cash transaction, that means automatically remaining 1/4 of 1,60,000 will be credit transaction to 40,000. Okay, now let us come to the journal entry. Purchases account will be debited. Since we paid 3/4 in cash, so cash account will be credited because cash is going out from our business, and according to the rule of real account, we have to credit what is going out from the business. Then we received cash, so that means we will credit discount received account then to Amit. That remaining 1/4 part we will write in here 40,000. Then discount received was 6,000, and actual payment that we made in cash was 1,14,000. Altogether we got 1,60,000 purchases. Okay, here 1,60,000 purchases. Now let us see next transaction. Sold goods to Sherpa at the list price of 50,000. List price was 50,000. Then there was trade discount of 20% and 4% of cash discount. Okay, now there was condition: if the payment is made within 7 days, then we will give cash discount of 4%. But if the payment is not made within 7 days, then we will not give any cash discount, but trade discount will be there. But for cash discount there was a condition that payment should be made within 7 days. So this was his condition, this was our condition. And what Sherpa did is that he paid 75% of the amount on January 23rd. Okay, now transaction in our book we wrote on 18. Okay, and we put a condition that payment should be made within 7 days to get 4% of cash discount. And Sherpa, what he did, that he paid 75% amount of on 23rd. So we have to see whether this 23rd January comes within 7 days of this January 18. So when you count from January 18, then January 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 January falls on 6th day. That means he is liable to get 4% of cash discount. Okay, now this was the question. Okay, so you have to first see there will be more than one journal entry for this transaction. Okay, now let us see first journal transaction. On January 18, we will take only the part where we sold goods to Sherpa. Okay, we will not see the payment part, or we will not see the 7 days condition part. We will just see that we sold goods to Sherpa at list price of 50,000 and trade discount was 20%. So what we will write is Sherpa debited to sales account because he is receiving goods and it is a credit transaction. Okay, so 50,000 minus 20% trade discount gives us 40,000. Okay, finish. January 18 transaction is finished. Now when we see within this transaction, we will see that January 18 we sold goods. That means one transaction took place on January 18. Then again another transaction took place on January 23rd. That means we received money on that date, so we have to pass another journal entry on 23rd January. Okay, but for making that journal entry, first we have to see working note. Okay, be very careful while calculating this kind of question because it is a little bit lengthy, but if you understand the concept clearly, then it is very easy for you to score full mark in this kind of question. Okay, now let us see working note. Sales value, or we can say list price, was 50,000. Okay, from there we deducted trade discount of 20% and we got 40,000. Now on January 23rd we received 75% of the payment. That means 75% of this 40,000 in cash. Oh sorry, by check. That means he gave us check. Okay, so 75% of 40,000 is 30,000. That means since he made the payment within 7 days, so we have to give him 4% of discount. So 4% of this 30,000 is 1,200. Now this discount is discount allowed by us. Okay, and after deducting this discount, what actual amount we received is 28,800. Okay, now let us see the journal entry, January 23rd. Okay, now since we received check, that means money will be credited, means we will receive money in our bank account, not in cash. Okay, so bank is the receiver of money, and according to personal accounts rule, debit the receiver. So we debited bank account, and then we allow discount, so discount allowed account is debited. Then who is the giver? Sherpa. Okay, so his account will be credited. Now since we have two accounts on debit side and one on credit side, first we will write debit side's amount. So if we see in working note, actual amount that we received after deducting cash discount is 28,800. So we will write 28,800 in bank column on debit side. Then discount allowed we got 1,200, so we will write 1,200, and altogether that 75% was 30,000. If we add 28,800 and 1,200, we get 30,000. Okay, now you see in question you can see there is only one transaction, but when we solve it, we saw that there are two transactions in one transaction, in one question transaction. Okay, now let us see next transaction. Sold goods to Garima for 1 lakh, allowed her 20% trade discount and 5% cash discount. Okay, now here also there is condition that if the payment is within 15 days, she will get 5% of cash discount. Now since there are 2 or 3 dates included in this transaction, so without reading further, what we will do is that we will pass journal entry for selling goods to Garima. Okay, now we will pass normal sales entry, Garima account debit to sales. Now actual list price was 1 lakh, but 20% of trade discount was there, so 20% of 1 lakh is nothing but 20,000. So after deducting 20,000, we got 80,000. Okay, so we will pass normal journal entry for sales. Now let us see next part of the question. Now we put one condition that if she pays or if she makes payment within 15 days from January 25, then we will give her 5% cash discount. Okay, and what she did is that she paid 1/4 of the amount by check on February 5th. Now what you have to do is that you have to see whether this February 5th falls within 15 days from January 25. If you count, then you will see that yes, it falls within 15 days. So that means we have to give 5% of cash discount on that 1/4 part of the amount. Okay, now let us see on the working note. And this is normal. This Roman number 4 in working note is nothing but normal sales, how we deducted trade discount. Okay, don't get confused in there. Now come on this working note number 5 on the transaction date that took place on 5th February. We received check. Now we have to find out how much amount of money we received and how much amount of discount we allowed. Okay, in the question they said that she made 1/4 of the amount on 5th February. So 1/4 of this 80,000. Okay, this 80,000 is 20,000. Now since she made that payment within 15 days, what we have to do is that we have to give her 5% of discount, cash discount. So 5% of 20,000 is 1,000. So after deducting this cash discount, what actually we received is 19,000. Okay, so for February 5th, this is the working note and this is the transaction that we will put in journal. Okay, now see, on February 5th, she paid the amount by check. That means bank account will be debited, plus we allowed discount, so it will be debited. And who is giver? Garima is the giver. So we will first write amount on debit side. Now see, in working note, after deducting cash discount, 19,000 is the actual amount that we will receive. That means in bank we will receive 19,000, discount allowed we got 1,000, and altogether that 1/4 part was 20,000. Okay, so you have to make sure that your debit and credit, both the sides, are equal after each and every transaction. Okay, then next, for February 5th it's over. Okay, till here we have finished. Now focus on next or last part of the transaction. 60% of the remainder, that means earlier she paid 1/4, remaining 3/4 is still pending, she haven't paid yet. But on February 15, what she did is that 60% of those remaining amount she paid in cash. Okay, they haven't mentioned amount, so we have to find out the amount. Okay, now when you see in working note, on February 15 we received 60% of remaining. Remaining means nothing but total sales minus the amount that we have already received, that is 80,000 minus 20,000, it is nothing but 60,000. So 60% of 60,000 is 36,000. That means we received 36,000 from Garima in cash. Okay, so for that entry will be easy. Cash account debited to Garima, rupees 36,000, 36,000 on both the sides. Okay, now all this for transaction. Normally we can, when we see question without reading, we can see that there are only 4 transactions, isn't it? But when we see the answer, how many transactions we have, journal entries we have passed, 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. Now see, that is why these questions are little bit complicated, but if your concept is clear, then you will be able to easily score 8 marks in this kind of question. I hope you have understood this question, and if not, then try to watch this video over and over, and if you still feel confused, then feel free to ask me. Okay, so for this session we will wind up here. Thank you.